Welcome to Fat Joe's. I'm going to tell you a little bit about ourselves. We've been here 10 years in this location, and we're a full-service garage. And I hope this presentation that we give to y'all will give you a knowledge of all the information you need to know about how maintaining a car. And for that, and from here, I'm going to turn it over to my son Joey, and he's going to take over and give you the presentation.
All right, we'll be talking about some emissions. We'll talk about some components for the emissions today. One thing about living in the state of Texas, we do regulate our emissions differently from other states. I do have some displays to go ahead and basically display this and show y'all. So we have a component, so we have visual inspections, okay? One thing that I've noticed, a lot of people, when they do talk about tune-ups, what is a tune-up? What does it consist of? What are the components in a tune-up? Nobody really knows unless you ask. A lot of people don't ask. They don't want to say, hey, I really don't want to take the time up to ask these questions. But today we are going to learn what these components are. What I'm holding in my hand today are spark plug wires, okay? These wires are one of the components on your emissions, on your tune-ups, okay? Spark plug wires do connect to two different things. One being a coil, one being a spark plug. I don't know if any of y'all have ever seen a spark plug, but I do have some to pass around, okay? Now, being in the shop, you do have to get dirty a little bit. So if you are skittish about getting dirty, I'm sorry. You will be getting dirty today a little bit, okay? If you can pass that around, that is a fouled plug. One thing on a plug, when it's not burning correctly, it causes maybe a miss or fuel not being burnt correctly. That being said, when a plug is fouled, it's not running correctly. So your vehicle is not going to be running correctly. This is a clean plug. Notice the difference. There is no carbon buildup on the plug. There's also, you can see on the threads where it's burnt on the previous plug I sent out. On this second plug, this is a normal plug, a plug that's running correctly. This plug right here is burnt the way it's supposed to be burnt. The first one I showed you is a fouled plug. That plug right there is a plug that somebody has not given the attention that vehicle needs. Therefore, that vehicle is not running correctly because of that component, okay? On the wires themselves, when you don't change these wires, the engine does get hot. Therefore, these wires sometimes do get brittle. They do break. They do tend to also not make good connections on those spark plugs. If that's the case, guess what? The vehicle is not running correctly. And I will pass these around.
What was that other part?
The coil. I'm getting to it right now. And I'm going to pass it to you first. The coil is a component that makes spark basically to burn the fuel correctly on the spark plug. This is not consistent in a tune-up, but it is recommended to change when that time does happen, when you do a tune-up. Okay? This coil sits on a coil base, basically. And then this is where the plug itself sits in. If I can see one of those plugs, thank you very much. Plug sits in there just like this and makes a connection, okay? If that connection is in any way obstructed or not correct, then you are going to have issues and that car is not going to run correctly. And I'll pass that around, okay?
For each spark plug?
Oh yeah, yes ma'am. Well, depending. On some coil packs, there might just be 3, depending on spark plug. Yes ma'am. But a lot of times, people don't take the time to talk about these components. These components are sometimes issues on a vehicle. And I'll tell you what, this is pretty cool. This is another coil pack itself. Good question you asked, because there are different applications for different vehicles. Different vehicles do come with different applications. This is a coil pack. See how it's got 2 per coil pack.
Gotcha. So then is that replaced as a SAT then?
You can replace them. It is recommended to go. The best way is to replace them as a set. Sometimes you don't want to take a shot in the dark and just replace one that is giving you problems. If one is giving you problems, usually the other ones will be giving you the same problem itself. So therefore, that being said, it is wise to replace them all at once. That's if they're having problems. Okay?
Where do you see that thing?
Sure. Didn't get to see it. I didn't want. It's kind of heavy.
This is the spot?
Yes, these are the wires. Yes, ma'am. And this is a coil. Okay? The coil itself sits like this.
Oh.
Spark plug goes underneath.
Oh.
Then the wire connects to this. Okay. Now these wires, of course, aren't for this particular coil, so it does vary on some applications. Okay. This is kind of heavy. If you want to pass that around, you don't have
What
to.
is this?
This is a coil pack. Yes, ma'am. These right here are coil packs right here, and this is where the wires connect. Okay.
What's the function of this one?
The function of this is to make spark, basically, to make the spark for the spark plug. This basically relays the spark plug, or relays the spark to the spark plug through the wire. Okay. It is recommended depending on how many miles are on the vehicle. Usually when you do a diagnostic test, it will tell you exactly what needs to be replaced. On our tune-ups, we do not consist on coils unless they are needed. Okay, so it's kind of tricky. If the vehicle's not having problems with it, then we recommend not to do it, depending on mileage. If you hit a certain mile interval, and it's recommended to replace these, then that's when we worry about replacing them, okay? Unless they are giving you an issue at that moment, okay? You'll get a miss. You might get fuel that's not burning correctly. You might get issues, a shaking in the steering wheel. You can feel a miss. Performance on the vehicle itself, it might not run correctly. You can tell it. One thing about your vehicles, ladies, nobody's actually gonna know what's wrong with the vehicle but you. When you drive your vehicle every day, guess what? You know the noises it makes, the normal noises. When there's an abnormal noise, guess what? You do know it. You hear it, and you know your vehicle. Let's say average person drives their vehicle, let's say anywhere from 35 minutes to 20 minutes to work. On a given day, that's almost an hour in your vehicle. What's that tell you? You should know those sounds your vehicle makes, at least the normal ones, okay? So when you do hear an abnormal noise, guess what? You will be able to pinpoint that noise. Okay, same thing with suspension issues. When you have a suspension issue, you drive your vehicle, you know how it drives. If you hit a pothole, if you hit a bump and it makes a certain noise, you know that noise wasn't there before, but now you hear a noise. So it's an abnormal noise. That noise wasn't there before. And being that you drive your car, you know the noises it makes. Okay. I'm also going to go to filters. These are air filters. This is a clean, brand new filter. Notice there's no buildup in there. There's no debris. This is what allows the intake of air coming into your vehicle. One thing about a vehicle, it works on a few components. One being intake, sucks in air. This is a measure that the motor does, or what the vehicle needs. It needs air. It's just like us. It needs to breathe. If we have something that's bothering us to breathe, not able to breathe, let's say a cold, let's say some way muffled, it's like holding up something to your mouth. Let's say you get a rag. Put it up to your mouth. Of course you can breathe, but you can't breathe correctly. You can breathe, but you're struggling. Same thing with one of these. If this is clogged up, it's not going to be able to breathe correctly. Therefore, it's not going to be able to run correctly. Okay, so this is another component that's part of your tune-up. And this is a new one versus a clean one versus a dirty one. Same thing with this one. This is a clean one. This one's a dirty one. And they do get worse. I've seen some people come in and they are completely black. They've got moths, they've got debris, they've got trash. If any of that's sucked into your vehicle, that could potentially be dangerous for your vehicle, okay? Also on, let's see what else I've got for you. I got some cool stuff. Oil filters, oil changes, intervals on oil changes. One thing to familiarize yourself with is the manual, the owner's manual. It's a great idea to read it. That way you know what's going on with your vehicle. The intervals that it recommends, you know what intervals it's going to need because of the manual. It's good to use the manual. So if you do have a manual, I do recommend you read it, number one, and go through it pretty often. It's a good source. It's a good ability to read what's going on with your vehicle, how to use the components of the vehicle. Do we have any manuals here? Can you find me one? See if we got any manuals, therefore we can see some of the intervals in there. You got one, manual?
How often do you change that?
Air filter, I go, depending on vehicle, on the intervals themselves. Some go for 25,000 miles, some 30,000 miles, some 5,000 miles, depending on vehicle. There are some specialty filters that can be replaced. You can replace the OEM ones with a lifetime one, which is, here we go. Will you find the interval section in here, Dad? Sure. That was a name drop. I'm sorry about that. Joe? Sure, by all means.
For our annual inspection for that sticker,
Yes, ma'am.
how much of the kind of things you've talked about thus far are caught there?
You talking about the tune-up components?
Yeah.
Given tune-ups are, one thing about vehicles, every vehicle is different on components, okay? Let's say the average tune-up can be anywhere from $275 to $500, depending on vehicles. Some vehicles vary. Bigger engines, let's say, anybody have a Dodge? Anybody drive a Dodge? A Chrysler product? Something with a Hemi in it? Nobody? Chrysler, there we go, that's what I'm talking about. Some Hemi vehicles carry 2 plugs, so that if it's an 8-cylinder vehicle, it's got 16 plugs. Exactly, you saw that, wow. So now your $200 or $300 tune-up just went up to $550 tune-up. So it does vary in applications, okay? But that is not something that you should worry about. Tune-ups are something that wear out. An engine is wearing out every day. It's making an explosion basically inside, a combustible explosion, and things do tend to wear out. So tune-ups are something that you have to do. It's normal, you know. Anything that's man-made breaks down. I'm sorry. There's not an engine that comes in here and I can say, hey, this is not going to give us a problem. Everything breaks, and it's normal. So when you do have an issue, don't sit there and be like, why is it breaking down? It's not why. It's going to happen. Sir?
When do we know we have to go for tune-up?
Usually, a lot of times, two ways you can find out. One, your vehicle's struggling maybe in performance or a shaking in your vehicle, okay? Number 2, there can also be a check engine light that comes on. I'm pretty sure all of y'all have seen that check engine light come on, right? That check engine light can come on because of components that are going bad, which is tune-up components, maybe a wire, maybe a coil, maybe a restriction in air. That light will come up with anything that has to do with a tune-up issue, along with other issues. And any sensor that that vehicle has will trigger a check engine light if it has an issue or has a problem.
Won't it make the gas mileage go down?
Yes, ma'am, it will. It will struggle. You will notice it. Like I said, when you drive your vehicle, you'll know when it's having problems. Maybe lack of fuel. Maybe the mileage that you used to get isn't the same. That's all signs of maybe having a tune-up issue, having a problem with the vehicle, okay? What other stuff do we have today? Scanners. I have these up here. These are some of the scanners we use in the shop today. This is one of our main scanners here. One thing when you do a diagnostics for these vehicles, when you go to AutoZone, that is not a diagnostic. That is giving you possibilities of what a diagnostic can be or the problem that you're having with your vehicle. When we use this machine connects to your vehicle on the OBD2 port. On that port, basically is the ability for me to communicate with the vehicle's computer with my computer. Once I'm in that computer, I can tell you how that vehicle's running and what issues that vehicle's having. With this computer, I can also determine what it's going to take to fix the vehicle. So it's basically pinpointing the issues that you're going to have. When you go to AutoZone, they print out a maybe list. It could be this component. It could be this issue. I don't do that. We don't take shots in the dark. This machine right here is my best friend. Without this machine, I cannot communicate with these vehicles. This is my aid, and this is what I use. So when you do come in here or any other shop and they tell you that you do need a diagnostic, this is what they're using. Maybe not this particular unit because I am spoiled and I do like the better products, but I do like these machines. These machines are a must to have. If you do not have these, you cannot communicate nor work on these vehicles. Same thing with these. These are same ones, just different brands. Sometimes people don't understand that diagnostics can be expensive. The time that it takes to do a diagnostic usually range from anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on what the problem is. Therefore, that labor rate that's given to check out the vehicle, of course, we do have to pay for that time. If the tech takes time to diagnose a vehicle, it's time spent, so we do have to charge that. I know a lot of people are like, dang it, I don't want you charging that charge, but it has to be charged. This is some of the stuff I'm going to go over. Suspension issues. Who knows what this is? Close. Yes, ma'am. She knows. And I can tell when someone knows something about it because I see the eye contact. Am I right?
No, it's just either shots or straps.
Sure. Now, who doesn't know what this is? Good. This is a suspension issue. This cushions your ride. When you're going down the road, those bumps that you feel, this is what makes you not feel them as bad, okay? And I will pass out this diagram. This is provided by one of my great sponsors, Napa. Where is my Napa rep? You know, he's inside eating bagels.
What is that called, you said? What is that called?
It's a strut. And this is it right here. And I'm going to pass this around so you can see where it is on the vehicle and what it does for you, okay?
Strut.
Strut. S-T-R-U-T. Strut.
What's the difference between a strut and a shock?
A strut is a whole assembly on the struts usually go on the front, depending on different applications. A strut is a whole assembly, being that it has a mount, a cup, and the shock itself. A shock is usually by. Do we have any shocks here? No. A shock is just. Oh, bring me the one from inside, the actual display. A shock is just an absorber, basically a cushion. We'll get a display real quick.
That's one of the pieces that's in a strut. Then.
Yes, ma'am. Like I said, some of them do have struts, some of them do have shocks. Most new compact cars are going to be struts in the front and shocks in the rear. Some vehicles are all struts all around. If you have that, of course, the prices do go up on struts. Struts vary on pricing, depending on vehicles. Usually they're about $180 to about $400, depending on what type of vehicle they are, okay? Normal mileage, I would have about 60,000 miles. Once you hit about 60,000 miles, that's when you'll probably check these out. Hey, there it is. This is a shock absorber. This is the difference between, and thank you, Napa, for these great displays. That's my Napa rep. That's Keith, everybody. So thank you, Keith. Bad shock, good shock. See the difference? Yeah. You'll have more cushion on a good shock. Better ride, okay? When you have one of these, guess what? Your whole car, you can feel every bump. You can feel the sway also on the vehicle. That's not good. With shocks, you have tire wear. You'll start to go through tires more. You'll notice sometimes also suspension components get worn out because of bad shocks, being that there's more play in the vehicle, okay? That's what I like about these displays. When you do have displays, you can give someone basically a picture, a rendition almost, so you can have the knowledge of knowing what's going on with your vehicle. A lot of times when people do come in, they don't know what's actually being put in their vehicle. You know, with these displays, it's actually pretty nice to show people, hey, this is what a shock does, this is how your shock is, and this is how you would want to have your shock, okay? Now, who knows what this is? But see, I cheat. I don't use jumper cables. I use one of these. Basically, I don't have to have another car, okay? But if you're out on the road, and you have, let's say your battery goes out, you will have to use some of these. Of course, black goes on black, red goes on red. Red's positive, black is negative. Don't ever change it. Don't ever put black on red. Don't ever put red on black. It's not the way to go, okay? But I'm glad everybody, has anybody ever used any of these? Do you carry some of these in your car? Smart, smart.
Do you recommend having the other charger, like if I go camping and stuff like that, where there's not maybe?
It's smart, because not a lot of people carry jumper cables in their vehicles anymore. I don't know why. I've actually, in my vehicle, have been stranded before, and I've been guilty of not carrying some myself. So it's a great tool to have. You can find them $15, $20 maybe for a cheap pair. These are probably like a $20 set. Okay, but it's smart to have. But yes, being that I cheat and use that box, I'm spoiled. So therefore, we have those. We have vehicles that come in that don't have a charge. Instead of running another vehicle to it, it's a little bit easier to run that box to it.
How long does the charge last them?
It varies. We usually leave it overnight, so therefore we know that it's completely charged. But we've gone weeks without charging it, and it's still strong enough to go ahead and jump your vehicle. Okay. You don't want to know. That's about $1,000, right, Dad? About $500? $350. And the only reason I said $1,000, if you notice the name on it, is Snap-on. One thing that we use, we are kind of loyal to Snap-on. I've always thought quality over quantity. And one thing I do like about Snap-on, it is a great product, number one, and they also have a great resale and exchange value. One thing about tools, you're only as good as what the tools you use. And when I say everything in this shop is Snap-on, everything in this shop is Snap-on. All the techs here also have Snap-on. That's another good thing to look. When you go to a shop, look at the tools. If you don't see quality stuff, I just can't see myself working with it. It's just like an artist. An artist is going to use the best paints, the best brushes. A mechanic's the same way. We're going to use the best tools. And if, like I said, when I say Snap-on is on all our tools, Snap-on is on all our tools. Everything is Snap-on here. And that's the thing about it. It's not cheap. But if you're going to do an efficient job, you have to have good tools. Now, I don't recommend everybody going to go buy one of these. Y'all don't want one of these. But it's a good tool to have. Now, today we're also going to do some tire exchanging. I will need some volunteers for that later, but just to put that out there, so somebody be prepared here shortly. Another thing that we have here, seals. This is a transmission. This is a complete transmission. Of course, there's no components inside. If it was full of components, I couldn't be able to pick this up. It's pretty heavy. But this is the tail housing. You ever seen one of these?
What's it called?
On the transmission, tail housing transmission.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This has a seal on the back. See that seal? Sometimes these leak. You know, one thing about going green, we don't want to have a lot of vehicles leaking oil. That's the number one thing that tears up cars, is leaks. Not only does it tear up your vehicle, suspension components get festered up with oil. They start to get weakened. They start to tear up. Just like anything that sits there with oil and gunk and debris. It starts to tear up after a while, especially when it rubber grommets. All your suspension components are usually rubber grommets. Guess what happens when oil sits there on them? They get eaten up. One thing about being in Texas, our weather is very funny. I'll use funny because you know what Texas can be. Look at the beautiful day we're having today. I'm sure tomorrow will be probably about 80 degrees and raining sometime tomorrow. But if you have leaks on your vehicle, you are tearing up your vehicle. So if you don't look at these leaks, don't take care of these leaks, you're going to have problems. You're going to have issues. Not only that, you're tearing up our environment. You're leaking oil everywhere. You know the driveways. We're all guilty of it because our driveways sometimes have oil stains. This is the inner part of the transmission. Of course, there's no guts in here. That's why I pulled it out today so I could show y'all and use it. If it did have components in it, I wouldn't be able to pick it up. They're kind of heavy. And they're kind of messy. Let me get a towel real quick. You got some? Is there any questions right now? No? Anybody? No questions?
What is this?
This is a transmission. Transmission. This is your. This is what makes the vehicle go back and forth. Okay. This is something that we won't get too much into today because that can maybe possibly be another class. Okay.
What are the warning signs that your transmission may be having issues?
Number one issue you may have, oil leak. And I like you. Good question. Oil leaks. One thing about transmission fluid is different from motor oil. Transmission fluid tends to be red. You can really distinguish it when it's on the ground because you'll see it. It's basically like deep red. When you start having problems with a transmission, you might not shift correctly. You might have hard shifting. You might have the ability of it neutralizing, not being able to go back or forth. You might also have an issue where, guess what? I don't have no more reverse. I can go forward, but it doesn't reverse.
See, that happened to me when I was out in the middle of Arkansas with nobody around. I had no indication until I started to back my van up.
Oh, wow.
That was a $4,000.
Yeah, and you're right. They are. The transmissions are pretty pricey. You know, it's hard to, you know, the $4,000. I hate to say $4,000 because we like to try to beat that here. Number one at Fat Joe's.
I didn't have a choice.
Sure, sure. But you know, it is a pricey repair to do, and it is something, depending on driving habits, you might have to do it. We're all guilty of having bad driving habits, you know. How long is that, Joe, on transmission fluid? About 1,000 miles? 8,000 miles? 8,000 miles. But that also varies on application. There are some that have synthetic oil in the transmission. They do go longer than the 8,000 miles, correct?
Now, is that
So almost every time you rotate your tires, you have
At least checked. You should at least have it checked, okay, every oil change.
Now, is that done with, that's done with?
It should be, what we offer a 21-point inspection. That's checking all your fluids, checking your fluid levels, checking the condition of fluids, also checking belts, checking suspension components, steering components, tires. One thing that we're all bad about is not paying attention to tires. Tires should be the number one thing. Me, I have habits. I'm kind of bad at it. What I do when I'm driving, let's say I'm coming out of the house, the first thing I do is look at my tires. Number one, I look to see if they're low, worn, or in some way damaged. One thing, when you're driving on the road, you might pick up debris. You might pick up nails. You might pick up metal. Take the chance to look at them. You know, I do a whole round around the car sometimes early in the morning. I don't have kids, so it's a little bit easier for me to do it. I understand some of y'all might have children or taking care of somebody, so it's get in the car, hurry up, we got to go. It's on a move, and that's fine. But being who I am, I have a lot of time on my hand, and I do go around my vehicle. I check out lights, lenses, wipers. I sometimes pick them up when I'm going to the car from a grocery store. I check my wipers just because that's who I am. That's what I do. That's what I look for. I'll get Manuel to come help me today. This is one of our employees, Manuel, ladies. What we'll do is we're going to start familiarizing where dipsticks are, coolant hoses. Matter of fact, I got a coolant hose here. One thing about coolant, you have severe heat when you're working with coolant. I don't advise any of y'all to check coolant when the vehicle's hot, just because one thing about coolant is an ugly fluid when it's hot. It can really tear you up. And I'd hate for y'all to sit there and pop a cap off right after you did about an hour drive, and guess what? It's boiling. It really is boiling. This is a cap. This is a bad cap. And I'll pass this around. The seal on this cap is bad. That's enough to cause a leak. This right here could cause you to maybe hurt your motor or damage your engine. This is something that shouldn't happen. If it has a damaged cap, replace it. It's anywhere from a $12 to maybe, what, $15, $16 piece. So I'm going to pass this around just so you can see what a bad cap looks like. Also, hoses. Inspect hoses. I don't advise that you take the hose apart, but you can see if a hose is cracked. This is actually a pretty good hose. The inside is pretty worn. This is a used hose, but this is a normal looking hose.
Question about the transmission fluid.
Yes, ma'am.
Aren't no cars like the new cars have an enclosed?
Casing, and you can't check it. Yes, you're right. Some do have that. You have to have the vehicle up in the air to check it out.
You can check it from the bottom?
You have to check it from the bottom.
Joey, on this, what makes it bad?
Sure.
Over time, it overheats, being hot, being cold, it overheats.
See how this piece is ripped all through here? That's enough to cause damage.
Okay.
And the only reason I know that this is leaking because I pulled this off a vehicle and it was leaking. Do we have any new caps? Oh, there we go. That's why I have Manuel around. Manuel's my go-to guy, guys. Everybody has to have an aid. I have an aid as well. Now, of course, this is a different cap, but you can see the grommet around here is not in any way damaged or, yeah, you see it right here? See that? Yeah, that little rubber grommet right there, that ring around there. It's not in any way damaged. That's a good seal right there. Well, this is just on this right here. This is just a cover. This is a protector, basically. Let's say it's sitting there vibrating on something, on a piece of metal. It doesn't cut through the hose. So basically, this is doing its job. Okay. Here, don't lose this cap. Oh, yeah, it does connect. This can probably connect to a radiator, maybe a water pump. That's what it connects to, okay? But you can see the inside over time. You see that?
For the air,
No, this is coolant, water, coolant. Yes, sir, coolant. Who knows how to check oil? Come on, I'm going to test you. What vehicle we're using? We're using this one over here? We can use this one? What's your name?
Joy.
Joy, if you'd like to join me. Can we get a round of applause for Joy? It takes a lot to get up. Come on, Joy. ¿Dónde está la avioneta en este? ¿Es esta? Okay. I'll take your hand.
Good advice to check your oil at least once a month, you know, to see if you have a leak or how dirty the oil is.
Okay, very simple. This is where you're gonna pull it out. You'll use the rag to wipe it and then re-dip it.
I've had to do this a lot with the car. I had an old car.
Now, you might want to turn around and show people what you just did.
Sure, let's
Okay.
do that. What we did today, we went ahead and pulled the dipstick. We want to advise you to wipe the dipstick first before you check it, so therefore you're checking oil, not old oil, you're checking the oil right now, okay? So let's go ahead and re-dip it
You're
in there.
checking for the color too.
And color, I check smell. You can, believe it or not, just by the smell of it. If it's burnt, it has a hearty smell to it, and you can tell it.
And when should you, to get the appropriate measurement on the stick, should you check it when the car's cold or warm?
That really doesn't matter. You can check it hot or cold. The thing is, check it off. Have the vehicle off. If you have the vehicle running, it's not going to give you a correct reading. What are we at? This vehicle is actually a little low. And the reason you can tell is because every dipstick has 2 holes. First one is halfway full, okay? And what can we see from this? Really low. And not only that, it's very dirty.
Is there a danger if it's over?
If it's over, yes, you can damage your vehicle severely. That's something I don't advise you. See, look, we have somebody who's guilty. Yes, ma'am. And that's not a good thing to do. Basically, this vehicle runs on a correct oil pressure. If you have more oil in the motor, guess what? It's going to render that oil pressure, and it's going to cause damage. Okay? Ma'am? Where should it be? It should be on the second line. Every dipstick has a little line where it says either full. I'm surprised this one doesn't say full on it. But that second dot right here, that's the full line right there, okay?
Question.
Sure.
I mean, if it takes less than a quart of oil to
Top it off.
top it off,
Sure.
wouldn't you just put in the full quart?
Not necessarily. I would keep it right at that line. Those manufacturers are pretty smart when they put these lines on there. It's a certain oil that oil pan takes. So it's smart to keep it right at that line. Now, how easy is it to put back?
Very easy.
Checking the manufacturer manual, of course, all vehicles are different. Some are synthetic blends. Some people like to use, thank you very much for your help.
You're welcome.
Yes, ma'am, I'll take that for you.
How do you feel about the synthetic oils?
I like them. I like them. I like them a lot just because, number one fact, you don't have to worry about them every 3,000 miles. You can go 5 to maybe 8,000 miles, okay? And that being said, everybody, let's give a hand for our helper. Thank you very much. That being said, I like to be lazy sometimes. I don't want to spend my weekends changing oil on my vehicle. I don't want to sit in a shop all weekend. So those synthetic blends do help you a little bit, okay? You can go a little bit longer.
What's the price difference?
A little bit, depending on vehicles. I tell you what, normal, let's say 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder vehicle, you're looking maybe $89 on an oil change. That's full synthetic blend, $89. Give or take, yes ma'am. Under $100. Now when you start getting to more of the European vehicles that do consist of just synthetic oil, their oil pans tend to be a little bit bigger. Some go from 8 quarts to 10 quarts. I have a vehicle who has a 10-quart pan. That oil change is a $200 oil change. Okay, so yeah, so it does vary. When you do start, let's say you're going out to buy a new car, do that homework. It's smart. You don't want to sit there and buy a vehicle that's going to kill you on oil changes. Okay?
I have a fairly new vehicle, my
Sure.
first one in 13 years.
Good, congratulations.
And, yeah, and it's the little Ford Fiesta, and I absolutely love it.
Good.
My manual says 7,500 miles for oil change.
Sure.
Where I bought it from the Ford dealership, they're saying I really need to go every 5,000 miles. Are they just wanting to get more money?
No, what they're doing is prolonging the engine a little bit more. It's smart to, I don't mind, I don't wait. If I say 5,000 miles on my vehicle, I'm dumping it right at the 5,000 mark. And like I said, I'm a little spoiled. I have a shop. So therefore, I can do my oil changes whenever I need to. I know sometimes y'all's schedule might be a little different, and it's hard to get in the shop and get an oil change sometimes on the weekends. You got soccer games, you got people you're visiting, dinners, lunches, whatever the case may be. Sometimes it can be hectic on the weekends to get oil change, ma'am.
Okay, so my driving behavior is I drive a lot.
Sure.
On the highway, that's the bulk of the use of my car is going to and from the house, which is in Denton.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So my light will come
Okay. Okay. Now, highway driving is something that it's not tearing your vehicle up because you're not in high RPMs. You're not stop and go traffic. So the oil life tends to stay a little bit longer. The longevity of the oil change stays a little bit longer. If you're commuting, down 35, you're doing about a 45-minute drive there and back, correct?
Stop and go.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, only in certain
Certain periods of the day. If you're doing your oil changes just like the manual says, you're doing great. Okay. Now, if you're in the riffraff of complete bumper-to-bumper traffic, stuck on 35 in downtown, stuck on 183 sometimes, if anybody's from Irving, I'm sure all of y'all are from Irving, but you know how 183 can get from the old Texas Stadium area to about Beltline. That from, 4 o'clock, 5:15, 5:30, you're not going nowhere. You're going to be stuck in traffic. Now, if you're battling that type of traffic every day, then I would suggest, do your intervals a little bit sooner. Do your intervals the way they're called for. But on your case, don't worry about it. If you go 200, 300, 500 miles over, you should be fine. Don't worry about that, okay? Did I answer your question?
Yes.
Good.
How reliable are the check engine lights and the oil change?
They correlate together, but I don't think it's going to correlate if you're taking care of your car like she is. Now, if you're going a few thousand miles over and that oil's pretty dark, pretty dirty, pretty grimy, then it may trigger an oil light. Check engine lights are usually done for sensors. Some of the components that carry sensors on them. It's not just going to flash a light just because, hey, you need an oil change. There are dummy lights that tell you, hey, maintenance required. That is directly to the oil. So if that required maintenance light does come on, not all cars have them, but if that light does come on, usually it is for an oil change, okay?
I would suggest know those symbols on your car.
Yes, ma'am.
The first time when I got my car, it was a used car. When that light came on
Sure.
and said it needed it's like a check engine light or something, I freaked out. It's like, oh my gosh, do I have to get off the road and I'm in traffic? Do I need to go to a...
Now, some check engine lights are a signal to say, hey, stop the vehicle. Most of them are for a sensor. It might render the vehicle some, but it's not going to leave you stranded. What I would advise you, number one, make sure you're not leaking any oil. Make sure you're not making any rattling noises, any engine noises. And if it's fine to drive, you don't see anything different or anything dangerous, then go ahead and drive. Hey, we got a visitor. But go ahead and check it out. You know, it's smart to check it out. Pull over, go to your nearest shop, go to your nearest manufacturer shop, wherever you feel comfortable taking it. It is a good thing to go ahead and get that light checked out. Don't go weeks with that light on. The only thing you're going to do is damage more, probably do more damage. So it's smart to go ahead and get that checked, okay? You hear that ding, ding light come on, that means, hey, we got to go get the car checked, okay? People sometimes don't understand checking those check engine lights. It's vital. You should do it. You know, don't spend the whole month with that light on. All you're going to do is more damage. What else do we got? Now who wants to change a tire? Anybody you want to change a tire? You've never done it before. Okay, you're going to be the one to change it. Pull up that GMC just a little bit so we have it out the way.
I haven't never changed a tire either.
Neither? Well, we've got 4 tires. Okay, so that means we got 15 women. 4 of y'all can at least do a tire change today. Okay? And what I want to do, I wanted to do a lot of hands-on. That's why I asked the young lady here to go ahead and pull that oil. I want y'all to be familiarized with these and be okay to do this. You know, don't be scared of it. You know, inform yourself, read about it. You're doing the right thing. You're in a class today learning this. I've never done this, so this all is new to me, and I'm thankful to do this. As a matter of fact, I wanted to do this for years, to hold a class for ladies. So this is awesome. I'm glad that y'all came. I've never had this many women here in a shop, which I even had my mom come in here today. My mom is my guest. I had to have her here today. She's my backbone. Without her, I couldn't do it. You know, she's given me these opportunities and these abilities to talk, so I love it. I like the fact that y'all are here. Here's what we'll do. Manuel, what do you got?
With a 6-lug car.
Sure.
With a tire.
Okay. Yeah, come on. Come on. All right, first of all, I'm gonna describe to y'all what this is. This is a floor jack. Of course, y'all might not have one of these in y'all's car. Y'all might have the one that is basically given by the manufacturer and you twist, correct? Yes, you've used it, okay? So this is cheating a little bit. Yeah, please watch your step. One thing about this floor, it does get pretty slick on these tennis shoes, so please be careful. One thing about a jack, it's very simple. Right to tighten it up, to go up and down. Left to loosen it. Okay, let's see if you can do that. But just raise it so we can, there you go. Now, turn it to the left. There you go. All right. Now, on these vehicles, every vehicle has a little spot where you can put the jack, where it's recommended to put the jack. So it doesn't, number one, break any plastics, damage the vehicle in any way. You can lift, every vehicle has them and you can find them. One thing.
I'm also going to pick that one up. We're going to show you the car where you can pick it up.
Yeah, sure. We'll lift it up on the lift in a little bit. Let's try to lift this one, though.
How do you know where that location is?
You want?
Once we get to that one, we're going to show you.
Well, I'll show, once I get the vehicle up on the lift, I'll show you, okay? Let's see if we can find a spot. Come on in, come on.
So when you're doing this,
No,
do
you-
the emergency brake behind?
If you're on a hill, yes.
She had this experience, that's why she's
I
asking.
didn't
Sure.
have it, and my husband came to help me out. and
Sure.
He was furious.
Oh, I'm sure he was. That's a good husband.
Well, no, he was changing the tire and
Sure.
it went down.
Oh, yeah.
you know?
Yeah, you're right.
Tucson and it
Were you on the incline? No? Well, it is smart to put that brake down.
where did you put it?
Well, on this
I'll show you on the other side. There it is. That's it. Just a regular flathead just to get that cap off. Pretty easy.
jack kit, you should have
Sometimes these manufacturers do make it hard on us, and they hide this jack underneath your tire, behind some plastics, and you have to take some stuff apart to get to this jack. Now, I understand it's kind of hard when you're on a freeway, maybe a car full of kids, and it's hectic. You got these cars flying about 60 miles an hour, and you're looking for a jack. So bear with that. Don't get scared just because that jack's tucked away that you can't get to it.
Also, on the Texas driver's license on the back is a 1-800 number.
You are right. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That road assistance number is a helpful number. It is a good aid. So if you do get stranded and you're not comfortable enough to do it yourself, by all means, or you're in a situation where it's not safe, then call that number. This is a 4-way. Y'all might not have one that's big. Y'all might have one that's half this, basically an application for your vehicle. Trying to find the lug nuts pretty easy on these. You just got to twist it around and find which one it is. Once you find out which one it is, let's test out your weedie skills.
Hey, remember, lefty loosey.
Righty tighty. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but you guys use that motorized.
We cheat. We use the impact. So it's,
Can a normal female unloosen that with that?
if you're a determined female, yes, ma'am, you are. Yes, you can. Okay, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Now let me recommend something. Let's put it like this, so therefore you can step on it. Okay? Try to step on it. She didn't have the Wheaties this morning.
Well, that answered my question.
Yeah, but it is hard, and I want y'all to see this because it is something hard. Let's see.
Rear end isn't for the camera.
All right, let's get somebody else to try it. And I'm gonna let y'all see how hard this can be, just so you can get an idea of what's going on. Good try though.
She is so.
She's done this before. I can tell.
No.
No?
But this is the first time.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's on there. Now let's try to go this way with it.
Yeah.
No?
See, the other lady already loosened it up a smidgen.
Just a little bit. All right. So we're not going to be able to do it. Hopefully by now somebody's pulled over and said, hey, let's help a little bit.
Oh, no.
Okay? Now, Manuel, show them how it's done. Now, Manuel has been doing this for quite a long time now. Okay. There you go. Okay, now show them how to do it with the foot, just so they can have a little more leverage on there. Sure you can.
Okay, so you did sort of like,
There you go.
Oh, you almost got it.
She's almost got it.
I saw it. Now do your foot.
I just don't feel like I have as big a leverage that way.
She's almost got it.
Come on.
Yes! So that right there solidifies that it can be done.
Okay.
Okay, it can be done. She was just a little bit more determined. But I think she had a bagel and some fruit. So I think she.
And coffee.
There you go. But let's go ahead and take them off for me, Manuel, and let's lift it up a little more. Now, this is the inside of the rim, of course. It is a very heavy wheel and tire. These things can range about maybe 60, 70 pounds, maybe give or take. So if you are a smaller woman, guess what? You're gonna have to find it in your guts to get it out, okay? So, but you'll be fine. Like I said, a determined woman can do anything, okay?
Can I lift it?
Sure, by all means, you can try to. See if you can move it around.
If you use, say, the Pixel-Flat, does that void the warranty on the tire?
I don't really do a lot of tires, okay? But some places do cancel that warranty out. It's pretty hard, huh? See, one thing about tires, you want to do it like this, and then move it in.
Oh.
See, and then when you get down, you lift it like this. See, pretty easy, like when you do it like that. Because if you sit there and try to move it like this, you'll never get it. Move the bottom in first, and then move it in. Okay, let's see if you can do that. She's almost got it. There we go, right there. Perfect, perfect.
And lift it.
Yeah. Pretty much, you've got it, you've got it. There you go, just like that. Okay, now to put the lugs back on, we cross them, right, Manuel? And the reason we cross them, number one, is so you can tighten them correctly. What we'll do is we'll put one on to secure the tire.
By crossing, you mean one up, one down, upright?
So make sure the rim is gonna go across.
We got applications inside. Before you leave, you might want to fill one out. You know what you're talking about. Oh. Now, when we tighten it back up, you're hiding back there. Come on. Oh no, I looked at you. Yes, ma'am. She can't be too quiet.
Yes.
Okay, what I want you to do, righty-tighty, we're going to tighten these up, okay? And I just want you to get them tight enough to where they just get snug right now.
Make sure you have the right fit, right?
Perfect. Now, once that one's pretty snug, you'll go to the one across from it, right above it. And this is what it's called to cross-tight them. The reason you want to do this, you want to make sure that that tire's sitting there flush. If you sit there and do one just in a circle, it's not going to get flush. It's going to sit there and tighten up one side and not sit correctly. Doing it this way, you make sure that that tire is flush. Great job.
I saw my husband do this. His face was all red.
Oh yeah. You know, we try to make our gender big and powerful, but we're really not. We're really not. I promise you. If you come over here and do this one now.
Barry, you don't need him now to come rescue you.
No, she's doing great.
Yes, I do. That's part of I do.
You want to try one?
It's really easy.
Come on. You cannot be scared. Come on.
Come on, you can
I'll hold your hand. Come on.
I won't be changing the tire.
Well, you can at least try to tighten it up. Righty-tighty. Perfect.
There you go.
Good job. I'm very impressed, ladies. Thank you. All right, I'm really impressed. All right, Manuel, you want to go ahead and tighten up? Now, Manuel's going to show y'all exactly how to drop it, put it on correctly, tighten it up correctly. It does take a little bit of muscle, so you will have to get in there and really get it.
Yeah, make sure all the lightnings are fitted first.
Sure. All right, I'm going to drop it. Clear? Yeah. Once you get the tire secured on, it is smart to go to a shop. Make sure it is checked correctly. Make sure it is tightened correctly. The last thing you want is that front tire to come off. Okay.
You're gonna need the tire repaired anyway. 'Cause
Sure.
you wanna not have a spare.
and you see the car rocking back and forth, that lets you know there is pressure being put on. You really have to get in there and really move this car and really tighten those lug nuts. If you, yeah.
Is there any tool to test how much torque was? I mean,
There-
once it's on.
There are torque wrenches out there. I don't know anybody who just carries a torque wrench with them. The best thing to do is just make sure you tighten it up as tight as you possibly can. Once you tighten it, show them how to tighten it with their foot, just to give a little more leverage on it. One thing about this, it's all about leverage. If you can put the correct leverage on it, you'd be surprised what you can. Go ahead.
Just make sure that it's always, the cross is always good with the lug nut. Because if you have it like this and you try to put force on it,
You're going to strip it.
you're going to strip it and
Yeah.
you're going to hurt yourself.
Okay.
So make sure.
It's flush. Make sure it's flush. It don't take much. Just a little bit of foot-pounds, okay? But now you see, it's not that it can't be done. It can be done. It's just going to have to be. You're going to have to be determined, okay? And if you want to make whatever appointment you're trying to get to, you'll change a tire. That's nothing, okay? Thank you, Manuel. And this is very simple to put back on.
Oh, this one has a guide. So
Yeah, this one has a guide. Oh, you want to do it? Yeah. She says she knows how. I like her. She's into it. Good. Perfect. Perfect. Look at that. And that's how you change a tire, ladies. Everyone did great. There you go. Now you're not scared to do it. You saw it done. It can be done. You can do it. You better help her. You better help her. Okay? I know a lot of y'all have not seen a car up on a lift like this, nor took the tour to look underneath it. Now, if you'd like to single file with me, I'll take you under here. It's very safe under here, so don't feel that don't be scared to be underneath this car. First of all, steering components, front end. You don't get to see a lot of this when the car is on the ground, but once the vehicle's up, y'all can come in here. Come on. You get to see all the goodies under here. These are all steering components. Okay, these rack and pinions. I mean, this right here, this gives you a good visualization or visual of what's going on up here. You don't really get to see this a lot, so it's good to have the vehicle up on a lift. Now, I do have the stress points right here. This is where we tend to put the jacks up. So this is a good area to look at right now, so you can see where to put that jack up when you're changing a tire. This is a good point. This is a good point. Rear has got a good point. You always want to go where the body is. You don't want to go into a component on the suspension. You want to use these body parts right here. These are the strong points of the vehicle, okay? So that's where you want to put them at. But you get to see the exhaust, transmission. You get to see the exhaust come out the back, rear suspension, drive shaft. This is the undercarriage you don't ever get to see. So this is what I want y'all to come down here and look under here. This car doesn't have a lot of oil leaks. It's actually in good condition. It's pretty clean under here. That's why I brought you under here.
This is body part?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes we have oil leak. Where
Sure.
it is coming here.
This is the transmission. This can leak from the back here in the rear or in the front where it mounts up to the engine. This part right here, ma'am. From here back. And every transmission is different on the application. So you will get to, just like the one I showed you on the side, some do vary in the way they look. Shocks? Okay.
I see this.
See this one right here? It goes all the way to the top. Front and rear are different. Let me show you the rear ones.
The filters.
I'll show you. These are the rear ones. See how these are angled different?
Yes.
Here, this is.
Mm-hmm. And then you say you want to see the oil filter from underneath? Let's see if we can see it from over here. Yeah, right here.
Oh. An air filter?
Air filter is going to be up at the top. Sorry about that. We're going to go over windshield wipers, and I'm going to tell you a little information why they are important. Number one, when you go get a state inspection done here in Texas, guess what can fail you? A wiper blade can fail you. If these things are dried, or damaged, that is enough to fail you on a state inspection. Not only that, it is very wise to have good a clear windshield, just because of the simple fact you don't want to sit there and drive when it's raining, and guess what? You find out you have bad windshield wipers. So the good thing is to test them. Check them out. Rain-X, they work pretty well. They are one thing, Napa does carry them, and we do recommend some of the Rain-X. They are a little more expensive. They do tend to range about $10 to $14 more than the normal Napa brand. But it is smart to replace them. what I'm going to do we have any bad wipers manual back there in the back? I'm going to open up a fresh pair just so you can see what a fresh pair looks like. It depends on how much you change them. I don't want to scare you away and say go buy the most expensive one. You can go buy the cheaper ones, but they do tend to wear more and break easier. And one thing about Texas heat does tear these things up pretty bad. Texas heat tears anything up pretty bad. This is a good wiper blade, okay?
Anyway, I replaced it.
Let me see that one. That one's worn. Woo! I tell you what, this is probably, I'm going to say, 4 out of 10 people's wiper blades, this is what they look like. Just because people don't realize how bad they tear up and how quickly they tear up in this weather and how often we have to use them. But that is a worn one versus a brand new one.
Can you know the name of this, like wiper blades are getting, can you get the best quality name?
Best Rain-X is a good one. Keith, what other brands do y'all offer over there besides the Napa brand?
Ours are made by
Anco. Anco. Yeah, Anco. And these are a store of the house brand of Napa, okay? And they are a good quality. Yeah, they are a good quality wiper.
Just about any auto parts store that you buy for, no matter what brand it is, if you buy wiper blades.
If you want to pass that one down.
Install them for you, just ask them.
I
Check it,
went
you have
to
cookies on?
get my blades
It's just
changed
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're pretty simple.
at
Yeah, they're pretty simple. They got
Roselle, and they said I had to go back to Honda to change.
Some of them, yes, ma'am. Some of them are specialty wipers like the Honda ones that are formed to the contour of that windshield. So yeah, that is true. You sometimes do have to go to the manufacturer, but Napa does carry those replacements for those specialty vehicles as well. So don't. Where are your Napa locations?
1550 North Beltline, just south of 183 on Beltline.
Yeah.
By the Golden Corral.
Okay, and I think that concludes everything that I have for you. The only thing I'm going to do today is hand out some of these goodie bags, okay? And